On the evening of August 22nd, 2025, in Charlotte, North Carolina, the Lynx Blue Line train was supposed to be a safe, routine way home. But for one young woman, it became the scene of a nightmare. Within minutes of stepping onto the train, 23-year-old Iryna Zarutska was brutally attacked and would never walk off alive. Her story is one of tragedy, survival, and unanswered questions. She had escaped a war zone in Ukraine, looking for peace in America, only to lose her life in an act of senseless violence thousands of miles from home. But what exactly happened inside that train car? Who was the man accused of killing her? And what drove him to do it? Tonight, we uncover the full story. Iryna's life began far from the United States, in Ukraine. When the Russian invasion shattered her country, she made the decision to flee. Like many refugees, she carried not just her belongings, but her hopes of safety, of freedom, of a fresh start. She found herself in Charlotte, North Carolina, one of the many U.S. cities that welcomed displaced Ukrainians. She was young, just 23, with dreams of building a new life. Friends described her as kind, soft-spoken, and hopeful. But all of that changed in a matter of minutes, on a train ride that should have been ordinary. The Lynx Blue Line is a common route for students, workers, and families. On that August evening, security cameras captured Iryna as she boarded the train. She looked calm, tired maybe as she sat down. For her, it was just another ride home. But on that same train sat another passenger, a man she had never met, a man who, in moments, would change everything. What happened next is chilling. Surveillance footage shows the man fidgeting. Then, suddenly, without warning, he pulled out a pocket knife. Passengers nearby froze in shock. And in those few seconds of madness, Iryna was stabbed multiple times. One wound struck her neck. The attack was fast, brutal, and senseless. She collapsed in her seat as the man turned and walked off the train. Just 2 minutes later, he stepped onto the platform and disappeared into the night. By the time help arrived, it was too late. Iryna Zarutska was pronounced dead. Charlotte police moved quickly. Within hours, they had identified and arrested the suspect. He was charged with first-degree murder. But the arrest only raised more questions than answers. Who was he? Why did he do it? And was this random or something more sinister? Investigators began piecing together the suspect's life. Reports suggested a troubled past, issues with mental health, a history of instability. But could that explain what happened on the train? Others speculated about darker motives. Was this a hate crime? Was Iryna targeted because she was a refugee? Or was it simply a case of random violence, the kind that terrifies communities because it could happen to anyone, anywhere? As the details trickled out, the story spread across America and beyond. News outlets replayed the footage of Iryna boarding the train. Headlines painted the picture of a young refugee who had survived one nightmare only to face another. Social media erupted with outrage. People demanded answers, demanded justice, demanded change. And in Charlotte, grief turned into fear. Was public transit safe? Could anyone be next? But behind the headlines was something more human. A family in Ukraine, devastated by the news that their daughter, who fled for safety, was murdered in a place she believed would protect her. Friends who had welcomed her to Charlotte left stunned and broken. It wasn't just a crime. It was a betrayal of hope. As the suspect awaits trial, the legal process continues. Prosecutors push for justice. Defense lawyers raise questions about his mental state. The public waits, restless, demanding closure. But one thing remains painfully clear. Nothing will bring Iryna back. And that leaves us with the haunting part of the story, the unanswered questions. Why did this happen? Was it preventable? Was it random? Or was there a motive we don't yet know? If Iryna had survived a war, crossed oceans for safety, why was her life ended here, in America, in such a brutal way? Her murder has sparked bigger conversations about transit safety, about mental health, about how we protect those who come to our country seeking refuge, about whether America, in its divisions and its violence, can truly be a safe haven. It's a story bigger than one victim and one suspect. It's a story about a system, about a society, and about the fragility of life in an uncertain world. Tonight, as we remember Iryna Zarutska, we remember not just how she died, but how she lived. A young woman with dreams. A refugee who carried the hope of starting fresh. A victim whose story now demands justice. Her killer will face the courts. But the deeper question remains, will her death change anything? Because when you step onto a train, when you sit down next to strangers, you expect to make it home. Iryna never did. And that is the chilling reality of this case. She escaped one battlefield, only to find another waiting here. Charlie Kirk's story was about politics. This story is about innocence stolen, hope destroyed, and a nation forced to confront its own violence. And for Iryna, the ending came too soon. Her story is finished. But the questions it raises are only beginning.